Good evening, stampers. My name is Juanette, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the United States. Today, I decided to make a card for my daughter and son-in-law for Valentine's Day using the From My Heart suite. The colors I used was Real Red and Flirty Flamingo. I also used the Heartfelt Bundle Punch Pack and the Every Season Punch. I made 3 envelopes from the Stampin' Up! Envelope punch board, and unfortunately that is no longer for sale, but there are other manufacturers out there that do sell an envelope punch board, and I highly recommend you purchasing one. I made 3 different sizes of envelopes, and this little stamp set here is from One for All, and it also is no longer available. However, you could put any kind of hearts you want on the front of your envelope. The finished card is a 5x7 card. So to make an envelope, you take an envelope punch board, and I took a piece of 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 square designer series paper that's out of Flirty Flamingo, and then you're going to line up your cardstock or your paper right there at 1 7/8, and then score your line up to the top. Then when you flip it around, you're also going to line it up again at 1 7/8, punch it, and then score along that line. Then for each of the other sides, you're going to line up the edge right there to that score line on the left, and then score in the ditch where your punch is. Again, for the other side, line up that arrow on your score mark, making sure that the punched part on the right where I'm pointing lines up on that indentation, and then you score it. Then you take all 4 corners and round them off using the top of the envelope punch board. There are many tutorials out there to learn how to make envelopes. Now I decided I wanted the stripe side to be on the outside, so I am folding each of those score lines, and then all you have to do is take either some liquid glue, although you have to be quite careful with liquid glue because if it seeps out and sticks to your cardstock or your paper, you won't be able to get anything in it. So I like to use double-sided tape, and that is 1/8 of an inch, and I apply it on both sides of that paper. Then take off the backing on both sides and fold up the bottom part. And there you have a nice little envelope. And that envelope, the finished measurement is 2 3/4 by 2 1/8. My largest envelope, again, making it the same way but using a different dimension, comes out to be 3 1/2 by 2 1/4, and the smallest is 2 by 1 1/2. Then you take a piece of Real Red that is 10 inches by 7 inches, score it at 5 inches, and that is going to be our card base. Then you will need 2 pieces of 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and on one of those pieces I ran it through the Subtle Dynamic Textures Impressions Embossing folder, and that's for the front of my card. Now in the bottom where the description is here on YouTube, I will have a link on where you can go to find a calculator in which it will show you the dimensions you need to make any size envelope. So there's my largest envelope, there's my middle one, and then there will be my small one. So then I'm going to take that embossed piece of Whisper White cardstock and I'm going to adhere it to the front of my card base. I'm going to use 3-in-1 liquid glue, and I really like this glue because it is a solvent glue, not water-based, so it helps prevent your cardstock from warping. They sell it at Michael's, Walmart, and also Hobby Lobby. So if you use your 40% off coupon in the craft stores, you can get it for about $4 a bottle. So on these envelopes, I wanted the largest one and the smallest one for the flap to fold downward, and then the middle one to fold inward. And that's so you could see more of the designer series paper with each one. So I just applied a little bit of liquid glue to the larger one, folded the flap down. Then this flap is going to be adhered to the front so it will open up and you'll be able to slip something in that little pocket if you would like to. You could put in a gift card or some money, or like I'm going to do, just some little hearts. And then the smallest one, the flap is going to be folded down over the front of the card, just like the largest one. So I took the 2 punches from the Heartfelt bundle and also some of our designer series paper from the heart, and I cut out several different heart shapes using different designer series paper. I also used the Every Season punch and fussy cut some other hearts so that I would have plenty of hearts to decorate the front of my card. And as you can see, there's several there. I layered some on silver cardstock. Some I laid over the scalloped heart punch, which the straight-edged heart punch lays right over the scalloped one perfectly. I believe I have 4 different sizes of hearts there for my project. That one I punched right out of the designer series paper, the one that's on the bottom there. And again, that designer series paper is out of Whisper White, Real Red, and Flirty Flamingo. Then I also die cut the word Amour out of the Parisian Beauty stamp set. And I also cut out that little flourish, but did not end up using it. I will save that for another project. So I put double-sided tape, foam tape as a matter of fact, so it would give me a little bit of a dimension on the backs of those envelopes. The biggest one I'm going to put down in that left-hand corner, and you can see the paper ripped there. It's because I accidentally put the foam on the wrong side, but don't worry, I'm going to cover it up with some hearts. Then that's the middle one, again with some foam tape on the back of it, and I'm going to adhere that in the middle of the card at a slightly different angle. And then the small one will be up and over that. So we have 3 layering envelopes on the top of the card. Now, as I go to decorate the rest of the card with hearts, I'm going to leave you with some music and fast forward this, and you can just watch me decorate it. Okay, and to finish off the card, I took the stamp from Heartfelt Stamp Set, Happy Valentine's Day, placed it in the piece of 6 3/4 by 4 3/4 Whisper White cardstock and stamped it twice with real red ink because I wanted a pretty dark impression of it. And that's what's so nice about using the Stamparatus is you're able to stamp in the same place with your positioning tool. Then I heat embossed the same image. After wiping off the stamp, I applied Versamark ink over it. Then used clear embossing powder over it just to give it a really nice shimmer and shine. I treated it with my anti-static tool first. Put a generous amount of Versamark ink on there. And then, like I said, applied my clear embossing powder over the top of it. Shaking off or tapping off any excess. And then hitting it with my heat tool set on high, my Stampin' Up! Heat tool. And you can see there in the video, it looks fairly pale, but once that embossing powder melts, it turns really nice, bright red. So I just adhered that to the inside of the card using my 3-in-1 glue, and then added some hearts to the left-hand side in 4 different sizes. And that finishes my card. If you would like any of these products that I have featured here, please visit my 24/7 online store at juanettehewitt.stampinup.net. And like I said, in the bottom of the description box will be the measurements for this card and the website to be able to find the calculator where you can make any size envelope you want. I found that it is very, very user-friendly website. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for all those people that have subscribed to my channel. Please leave any comments that you might have, whether positive or negative. I'm open for any suggestions or any advice that you might give me. If there's anything you'd like me to teach you, I would be more than happy to do that. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial and many others. I have a scene card coming up in which I will feature the Power of Hope stamp set. Well, again, thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you, each and every one of you. Thank you, and goodbye.